With the beginning of 2024 and approaching in his third year in office, President Yoon Suk Yeol has held more summits and overseas engagements than any other South Korean leader in the same period. He is expected to do the same this year. We're joined by our president's correspondent Oh Soo-young to forecast what will be the president's main diplomatic initiatives. Welcome, Sooyoung.
Hi, Dami. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Sooyoung, first off, what will top President Yoon's agenda on the foreign policy front this year?
Two things I'm going to say. Well, first, South Korea's first and foremost security needs against the threat of North Korea's missile and nuclear provocations, and also economic security, with South Korea being a nation very reliant on trade. So first, President Yoon will continue to prioritise South Korea's alliance with the United States and quite significantly add a nuclear dimension this year. By the summer, the allies are expected to produce a nuclear response guideline that they would conduct in the event of a nuclear provocation from Pyongyang. And President Yoon alluded to this briefly in his New Year's address, saying that the two allies' extended deterrence system will be completed by the first half of this year to, quote, fundamentally curb any nuclear or missile threats from the north. Now on economic security, President Yoon will strive to expand Korea's export markets amid the challenges of high inflation, high interest rates, and sluggish economies worldwide. Seoul will also continue to strike up new trade deals and partnerships around the world to secure supply chains of materials that are critical to future industries like semiconductors, secondary batteries, defense, and digital solutions.
Right, and President Yoon Suk Yeol's vision has been all about making South Korea global pivotal state. Now, remind us what that GPS means and also how he'll be actually pursuing this.
Right, so becoming a global pivotal state, that means making South Korea a crucial economic and security partner for the world and sharing common challenges like climate change and also coming up with joint solutions to the social impact of digital technology, as well as joining in the development of the global south. Now, to govern these kind of multilateral partnerships and the impact of future technologies, their implications, President Yoon has put particular emphasis on a rules-based world order and multilateral institutions to ensure that the future that we build upholds freedom, peace, and human rights. In 2024, South Korea is going to host the third Summit for Democracy, which was first initiated by President Joe Biden to address threats to freedom, the rule of law, and human rights across societies. Seoul will also hold a follow-up summit to the AI Safety Conference first held in Bletchley Park last year on ensuring the safe and responsible development of the technology. Also, South Korea began its two-year term as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, which will let it increase its contribution to tackling some of the most pressing global challenges.
Definitely. We also have to talk about the possible hurdles ahead for South Korea. What are some of the risks ahead for South Korea this year then?
Right, with all the geopolitical uncertainties and also these sort of economic troubles that a lot of countries are facing, South Korea is, as ever, very sensitive to external factors, and there are going to be a number of events that will inevitably affect the course of Seoul's foreign policy. The US presidential race in November, now that's been stirring concern among its allies. Observers fear that the possible return of Donald Trump as US president could once again undermine America's global security commitments to its allies, from South Korea and Japan in East Asia to Ukraine and NATO countries. Now, Seoul and Tokyo in particular, they forged a trilateral cooperation framework with Washington last year at Camp David to address North Korea's threat. Now, the two Asian neighbours may find it difficult to sustain their bilateral cooperation if the next US president fails to provide that glue that binds the two East Asian countries together, given their long-standing historical disputes between them. But even before the US elections take place, there's another key race in Taiwan taking place this month on the 13th, which will have an impact on US-China relations. Now, depending on whether tensions stall or grow between the two countries, that's going to dictate how other small powers wedged between them, like South Korea and EU countries, can really proceed with their trade with China, whilst largely depending on the US for security. And on top of that, the ongoing war in Ukraine and the Middle East, those could affect the US's focus on the Indo-Pacific and its level of commitment to its East Asian allies, simply because of capacity and or because of the US electorate's growing reluctance to support American military presence abroad. Now, also a possible backtrack of US leadership from multilateral institutions that we saw during Donald Trump's presidency, that could further destabilise free trade and cross-border efforts to jointly address shared challenges across the world, like climate change, digital technology, and development around the world. So what experts say is that for now, South Korea could expand its diplomatic network of like-minded countries to ensure that there is stability in world security and trade, no matter what happens in November.
If and when Trump comes back to the White House, there will be a great need for other countries, the current allies of the United States, to work together even more closely. So these are all the actions being taken, efforts being made by all players around the world, with the possible new face of the United States government in mind. And so it's really critical for Korea to strengthening its cooperation with these kind of key allies, going beyond the traditional allies like Japan and the United States.
Thus, through his summitry last year, President Yoon called for global solidarity and a rules-based world order, pledging Seoul's so-called contributive diplomacy to strengthen multilateral cooperation for freedom, peace and prosperity. He's also been engaging in minilateral cooperation for regional and economic security with smaller units of new partners, for instance, engaging in military intel sharing with NATO and forging technological partnerships, including the recently forged semiconductor alliance with the Netherlands. So sensing this kind of opportunity amid crises to expand South Korea's role in the world as a crucial security and economic partner, perhaps South Korea could make more progress towards its goal of becoming a global pivotal state in the new year.
Definitely a lot to look forward to this year. Again, I'm sure it's going to be another busy one for you and President Yoon both.
Well, hopefully not too busy, but good to make Korea a global pivotal state. So fingers
Definitely.
crossed. Right.
All right, Sooyoung, thank you for that report today.
Well, pleasure as always to be here, Tammy.